ball game going on. In the VIP stands, a guy named Nicky is sitting comfortably with his girlfriend Jess. The match is playing, but Nicky's attention is more on the crowd than the game. He notices a beautiful girl getting up from her seat and walking away, and right then, a mischievous idea hit him. He makes a small bet with Jess to see how many people will turn around to look at that girl. A guy named Levan sitting nearby says he wants in on the bet too, so Nicky. Everyone agreed. As a joke, they bet $10 and started counting. When the girl stepped out of the stand, the final count showed that 7 people had looked back at her. Jess guessed the closest number and won the bet. Levan handed over the money without any hesitation and then said to start the next round. This time, the bet was on who would commit the next foul. Jess dropped out saying she had no clue about the game. But Nicky jumped in and bet $1,000. As soon as the whistle blew, the referee called a foul. The signal was given, and the team Nicky bet on turned out to be right. He won the bet and pocketed the money. Even after losing the bet, Levan got even more excited. He said, "This time, let's bet $5,000. The question this time was whether he would pass the ball or run with it. Nicky hesitated a bit to bet the $5,000 but finally agreed. Levan guessed he'd run, and Nicky said he'd pass. As soon as the whistle blew, the player actually took off running with the ball, which meant Nicky now lost $5,000. Nicky decided, whatever, lost $5,000, no big deal. So he called just to go grab a coffee. But Levan insisted. He said, "You're sitting in the VIP lounge, you've got the money. What's $5,000? Just play one more round, this time for $10,000. Eventually, Nicky agreed. Now the question was whether this player would successfully make the next pass or not. Nicky predicted he would. But the other team intercepted the pass midway. Now Nicky was down $15,000. Nicky looked a bit worried while taking out the money. He thought for a moment and said, "Alright, let's bet $500 this time." Hearing this, Jess was shocked. But Nicky seemed angry. Luck just wasn't on his side right now. He lost the next bet again, which meant he had to put in another $500. Jess immediately told him to stop. But Nicky's anger and ego got the better of him. Without thinking, he placed the next bet for $100,000. Levan laughed and said, "Do you even have that much money?" Nicky didn't say much and pulled out a whole stack of cash. He threw it on the table. After that, Levan got excited too. Now Nicky bet that the next pass would be intercepted. It wouldn't go through. But this time, the pass was successful. Nicky had already lost millions of dollars. He didn't know how to get out of this mess. Jess was really shocked by Nicky's move. But now the game had reached a much higher level. Nicky said, "I've got $1 million left. Let's bet it all. Let's see who wins." This time, the decision would be made with playing cards. Levan was on a winning streak. So, he was going crazy with happiness. He started looking at Nicky like she was an ATM machine. Levan played his card, which was a 5 of clubs. Now Nicky just had to play a card higher than 5. The chances of winning were pretty high. Nicky picked a card and confidently flipped it over. But it turned out to be a 3. Seeing that, Jess immediately fell off her chair. When Nicky started the game, she was only in the mood to bet $4,000. But by now, she had lost over $1 million, almost 90 million rupees. After this humiliating loss, he had nothing left to say. So he quietly took Jess' hand and started leading him outside. He was really upset. But Levan kept teasing him. He said, "This is what happens when you play with the master's son." Nicky stopped and put another bet on the line, $1 million this time. Now the idea was a bit different. Nicky challenged that Levan could pick any random player through binoculars, and if Nicky guessed his jersey number right, he'd win. Levan got a bit confused by this. He said, "Bro, this is starting to get tricky." He felt like Nicky was basically shooting himself in the foot. He even had a bit of a suspicion that maybe Nicky was cheating. To clear the air, Nicky said, "Fine, I won't even guess. This time Jess will guess." Jess shot Nicky an angry look. She had no idea what was going on. What were the chances that out of so many people, the one whose jersey number I pick is actually the right one? Saying that, she started to walk away. But Levan's security guard stopped her, and a small scuffle broke out between them. Jess took a moment to calm herself down. Nicky then said to her, "Just look around the ground and pick the number that feels right to you." Levan grabbed the binoculars and picked a player. Then just took the binoculars and scanned the whole field. All he could see were jersey numbers everywhere. How was he supposed to guess? Then his eyes landed on a familiar face, and he remembered Nikki's advice to choose the number that felt like his own. Their friend Farhad was wearing jersey number 55. Just realized this was all part of Nikki's plan. He said, "Number 55, and that was the perfect answer." From his answer, Luyan was stunned. Just was lost in thought for a moment, wondering how Nikki knew beforehand that Luyan would pick that exact number. But right now, none of that mattered. They had won the bet. Both of them made a profit of $1 million, and all the lost money was returned too. Carrying two big bags full of cash, they walked out of the stadium. In the car, Nikki told Jess that it was all part of their plan. They had been tracking Luyan for a long time. Actually, Luyan was notorious in high society for his bad gambling habit. He would jump at any challenge thrown his way. Nikki's team had planned the whole thing out. The moment Luyan stepped out of his hotel room, the number 55 was planted deep in his subconscious. Even the security guard's name tag had 55 on it. The signboards on the way to the stadium showed the same number. And they didn't just show him the number, they made sure he heard it too. On the way to the match, they played a song in Luyan's car that kept giving him hints about the number 55. That song had a sound like 55, repeated 124 times. Because of that, Luyan's mind kept drifting back to that number. At the same time, he was shown a photo of Farhad, which stuck in his memory like a mental image. When he was looking through the telescope, his mind naturally went to the number 55, and as soon as Just saw Farhad, he said, 55, right away. Just hadn't been told anything beforehand so that his reactions during the whole game would be completely genuine. No one would suspect a thing. Hearing all this, Just was totally impressed with Nikki. After that, the story goes back a few days. Just a few days ago, Nikki was lying on a bed in a room. He was there, and a guy had a gun pressed against his head. Sitting right next to him was Just, the guy he'd met just a few days ago. It was clear as day that Nikki was caught in someone's trap. But there wasn't a hint of fear on his face. He just straight up said, "I don't have a single penny. If you wanna shoot, go ahead." The guy with the gun read his reaction instantly and realized this dude was a player, a bigger con than anyone else. And he was absolutely right. Nikki's a smooth operator, a pro at petty thefts, and he does it all cleanly. Just then, Jess. She had trapped me and brought me into this room. That's when she saw a natural talent in Jess. Just didn't really get it at the time. Anyway, after the guy with the gun left, Nikki told Jess, "You've got a gift, and if you sharpen your skills at conning people, you could live off it forever." Nikki said, "This is our family business. My dad, his dad, everyone was a con artist. It runs in our blood. Every trick, every move was like a game to him." Without wasting any time, Just pulled out some money and said, "I want to learn from you." Nikki didn't waste any time either. Wasting things didn't seem necessary. Even when going out, Nikki had stolen a ring from Jess without her noticing. By the time Jess realized what had happened, her watch was already gone, and when she put the watch in her handbag, Nikki had already taken out her wallet. After all these tricks, Nikki said that all you need for this job is clean hands, good timing, and a bit of style. That day, Nikki didn't say anything to her except goodbye. A few months later, Jess found her in New Orleans, where Nikki had started building a new team. Their meeting was real too. There was a test. He wanted to see if Jess was even worth joining their team. When Jess agreed, Nikki sent him to the fair with one of the team members. Today was Jess' first real assignment. Holding a map, he started asking people for directions. Meanwhile, his teammate sneaked and stole a tourist's camera lens. Then another teammate deliberately bumped into a man and just took his wallet. Jess was starting to feel a bit confident in his stealing skills. Using chopsticks, he reached into another woman's bag to grab her wallet. He got out, and everything went so smoothly that no one even suspected a thing. Nikki was watching all this from the top of a building. He told the team to leave him alone now. It was his turn to take action. Just started stealing expensive stuff one after another, and with every theft, Nikki's respect for him grew. Now Nikki sent him on an even bigger mission. This time, it was a high-tech scam. Using special lenses, they could see other people's cards and easily beat them. Here, they were stealing credit cards. There was this whole system running. The card would be stolen and quietly sent to a teammate. A device there would copy all the data, and then the card would be slipped back into the person's pocket without them noticing. By the time anyone realized, the entire account was wiped clean. Another scam involved fake ATM machines. Whenever someone withdrew cash, their PIN would automatically get stored in the machine. Farhad would quietly remove the machine and grab all the data. They sorted all the credit cards into different categories and used them to buy luxury items. And in the end, their data was sold on the black market. They were being sold. Jess saw a beautiful necklace one day and put it on. But Nikki told her to take it off immediately. She firmly explained that everything had to be sold. Nothing should be personal. Jess was seeing such a big level of fraud for the first time. Standing amidst piles of stolen stuff felt completely different. The next day, Jess and Farhad were wandering around a wealthy area. Their job was to act. Farhad fainted and just started shouting, acting like crazy. "Please, someone help us, please." It was a kind of distraction that the rest of the team took advantage of. The people stole stuff from the rich around them, and then the whole team sneaked out hiding in an ambulance. The plan was so perfect that no one could figure out what happened. That night, they all celebrated together. Nikki praised everyone because they had made $1.2 million in just 1 week. The next day, the team was going to split up. All the documents were destroyed, and everyone was assured that their money would be in their bank accounts within a few days. But the old members knew that Nikki had one last. The mission still not over. He gave him $1.2 million in cash and warned Jess right in front of him not to blow it all on gambling. The next morning, Nikki took Jess to the VIP lounge at the stadium. He put on a whole show for Jess, showing him how they could make millions in just a few minutes. By then, Jess was starting to kinda fall for Nikki. She felt like she was his girlfriend, that's why he was showing her all this. But from the start, Nikki had only brought her into the group to scam her. When it ended, Nikki gave her $80 in cash and said goodbye. As Jess looked at him, tears filled her eyes. Her heart was broken. On one hand, she truly loved Nikki. On the other hand, she felt $80 was way too little, especially since Nikki had just made $1 million. But in Nikki's world, there was no place for feelings, and Jess had finally seen his true colors. Almost 3 years later, we see a race car pulling into a service station, and soon Nikki shows up there too. There was exhaustion in his eyes, and it was clear from his face that he was running out of money. At lunch, he had a meeting with Garia, the owner of a race car team. Garia's research team had developed a new algorithm called EXR, but they wanted to improve it further to increase their chances of winning. So, they hired Nikki to work on it. The plan was pretty simple. Nikki would pretend to be their chief engineer. Then, they'd make it look like Nikki and Garia had a falling out, so other teams would fall right into their trap. After that, Nikki would. They planned to sell a fake version of the EXR to the rival team, while the real system would be used by Garia's team to secure their win. According to the deal, Nikki was supposed to get €1 million for this job, plus whatever he made from selling the fake system. Nikki thought it was a joke. Such a simple scam was something he could pull off even in his sleep. But Garia's butler didn't trust him at all. He straight up threatened Nikki, saying if anything went wrong, he'd shoot him right in the chest. Nikki put on a tuxedo and that evening, he left to attend the party. His plan was to pick a fight right in the middle of the crowd. But his plan completely fell apart when Jess made her entrance, coming down the stairs in a red dress, and went straight to hug Garia. Seeing that, Nikki was stunned. He hadn't seen Jess in 3 years, and now she was with someone else, and that someone was the guy who had hired Nikki. Jess calmly walked up to Nikki and said, "I'm not a con artist anymore, and whatever happened 3 years ago doesn't matter now." She also said that Garia. No one knew anything about Nikki and his old relationships, and it was said that it's better if this matter stays buried. Hearing all this, Nikki got furious. He grabbed his vodka glass and downed it in one go. First, he needed to fake a fight, but now he was genuinely pissed off at Garia and started a huge argument right in front of everyone. The rival racing team loved the drama. Soon, security kicked him out of the party. But now, the rival team's business card was in his hand. The next morning, Nikki. I met the owner of the McLaren team. He was straightforward and said it would cost €3 million. I want to sell the EXR system. The race car owner had no money issues, so there was no need to haggle. They immediately tested the track, and seeing the results, the owner's face lit up. Nikki assured that the complete software would be ready within 48 hours. Meanwhile, Jess met Farhad on the road. Nikki had sent Farhad. He told Jess that Nikki had to leave 3 years ago. They had no other choice. He said that Nikki now. Farhad gave Jess a box with a necklace she liked. There was no guarantee it was real or fake, but that didn't matter. Seeing the necklace, Jess' heart melted. She said she couldn't trust Nikki, but her eyes told a different story. She still had some feelings for him. Anyway, the day of the deal came, and Nikki handed over the software to the McLaren team owner. In return, a tough-looking guy handed him 3 million euros. But Nicky's nature was such that he never did anything without taking a risk. He secretly sold a copy of that software to every racing team. With every handshake, he took millions in new euros. No one realized until the race started that everyone had the same system. That night, instead of running away, Nicky messaged Jess. If she came in time, they could escape together. Nicky waited, but no one showed up. Just as he was about to give up and leave, Jess arrived. But just then, the escape. There wasn't time because right then the tough guy who had given Nicky 3 million euros on behalf of the McLaren team showed up. Turns out, he was Garya's man. Now he knew the whole truth. That Nicky hadn't sold fake software, but the real deal. He didn't care at all about Garya's 1 million euros. So, fully geared up, he deliberately crashed into Nicky's car. Nicky and the guy got caught after what looked like a serious accident. After tying them up, all the cash was laid out in front of Garya. Nicky's move had. Garya was really pissed off. He had invested 40 million euros into making this program, and now it was all ruined. The biggest thing was, Garya just couldn't figure out how Nicky had stolen the real software. When Nicky didn't say a word, Garya grabbed Jess by the collar, and just started struggling to breathe. Seeing this, Nicky broke down. He confessed everything. How he rekindled Jess' old feelings for him and gave her a necklace with a special chip inside. The moment Garya opened the software, Nicky used that necklace to get his password and the data got stolen. Hearing this, Jess' heart broke. Tears started streaming down his face. But Garya and his people just laughed. They liked the story but didn't believe Nicky's version. Garya said that Jess was never his girlfriend. He knew she was only with him for money. Meanwhile, Jess admitted that she only wanted to steal his expensive watch collection. Nicky was shocked to learn that Jess had pretended to be in love with Garya just to get back at him. Now both of them were caught. Garya didn't waste any more time. He didn't take it. He asked Butcher how Nicky stole the software. As soon as Nicky started to speak, Butcher fired a shot. The bullet went straight into Nicky's chest. Garya's face went pale. She panicked and told Butcher that they could make the money back, but if he got caught for murder, her life would be over. She immediately kicked Butcher out and ran away from the warehouse. Jess was crying a lot, but Butcher said there was no need to be scared. He was actually Nicky's man, and to be honest, I'm his real dad. The real dad. He fired the shot. He had deliberately shot him in the side of the heart. Then, using tape, he sealed the wound. He drew out the blood with a needle and stabilized the air pressure in his chest. Suddenly, Nicky opened his eyes again. He was still alive. The whole act was a bit crazy, but it worked. A pile of money was waiting for them, and the three of them took off from there. Nicky was actually an orphan, and it was this butler who had raised him. The butler had taught Nicky all these sneaky skills. The rule was to never get emotional. But now Nicky had genuinely started to love Jess. The butler. He dropped both of them by the side of the road and took all the money with him. Nicky didn't get a thing. But on the way to the hospital, Nicky noticed that Garya was wearing a watch worth 200,000 euros on his hand. They looked at each other and smiled. With this kind of cleverness and skill, they won't go hungry anywhere in the world. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my Movie Explain channel.